Good afternoon and welcome to another one of Tim's Tech Talks. This is truly one of the nicest bikes we've had in the shop for a little while. I just love it. It is a 50cc Venom Classic FatBoy. And you know, what child or even what dad on the block wouldn't like to be riding around the street on this? This is a 50cc Classic, and I'm just going to give you a little quick look around the bike, and then we're going to go through the bike step by step in terms of how it arrives and what steps are required to put this bike together. But just, you know, it has such a wonderful sound. It's so well made. I think everyone would love to have one of these in their garage. So as we walk around the bike, things to notice and point out: hydraulic brakes, both front and rear, headlight, excellent turning lights, huge attention to detail, charging port, which allows you to plug the bike in and charge the 12-volt battery, leather saddlebags, that's just amazing, full rear turn signals, tuned exhaust, again, very, very impressive. So now that you've had a chance to listen to the bike and see the bike fully assembled, we're going to go back in time a little bit through the magic of video and show you the steps that it took to arrive at this point. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to another of Tim's Tech Talks here at Venom Motorsports Canada. So today we're having a look at one of the newest members of our family, and this is a 50cc FatBoy Chopper, and what an amazing bike. Now we've just uncrated it and we're going to have a look at this, do a bit of an exposed series on it, and also give you some ideas in terms of how the bike is put together. So we're going to be looking at assembly concerns that you might have, and then spend some time looking at maintenance. But this is just a great mini chopper design. The bike is 59 cc's. It is a 4-stroke, and what you see is basically how the bike will arrive when you take it out of the crate. So I'm just doing a little bit of a walkabout here to give you an idea what you can expect. So we're going to be installing the front tire, the brake calipers, we're going to be installing the handlebars, and then I've laid out all the parts that come in 2 boxes that we'll also need to install. So we're going to have a look at the signal flashers for the front, as well as the headlight. We need to install the mirrors. This bike also comes with a 12-volt battery charger. So you simply plug this in to charge your battery up to start the bike. The bike also comes with the owner's manual with a great pick. So this is what the bike looks like fully assembled, and we'll soon get there ourselves. As well, the manufacturer has included some assembly instructions, and in this case the assembly guide that you see here was duplicated, so we received 2, which is never a bad thing. So in terms of assembly, we're going to be working through the headlight cables, then we're going to be having a look at installing the front tire, and then finally the front fork covers, and we're going to take you through that step by step. So I'll be cutting the video on and off as we go through, and the very first thing I'm going to do is to spend some time looking at the handlebars. So we're going to remove the plastic wrap from the handlebars and then mount them. That'll be the first thing we do. From there, we're going to have a look at installing the front tire and then the auxiliaries. So we'll be back in a little bit with the handlebar installation. All right, so we're back. We've installed the handlebars, and the handlebars install and mount via this system that you see here. So the 2 C-clamps are simply bolted back down into place with these machine screws. Once you've ensured, of course, that the handlebars are in the proper position in terms of being properly centered, and as well are installed in the proper position so that the operator of this particular vehicle can easily access the brake mechanism and is comfortable. So we're going to spend a moment as well just having a little look at some of the extras that we've added to this bike. Again, you can see we have the high-tech handlebar system, kill switch, lighting system, start switch, and again the master cylinder for the front brake. And it's important again to understand that these bikes are extremely well made. So here we have a full hydraulic system, master cylinder to the front brake going down to the slave cylinder here and caliper for your hydraulic braking in the front. The rear brake is also hydraulic, as you can see here. So again, extremely well made. After installing the handlebars, tightening them down, the next step is to look at the wiring harness and install the headlight and the front signal lights. Now, it may look a little daunting, but there's nothing here to be afraid of. You basically pull back the cover for the wiring harness, and then you'll notice there's a large variety of connectors. Each one of these male and female connectors, that is, they just plug into one another, is different and color-coded so that we can't have a problem, that is to miswire the system. So when you look at the headlights, for example, you'll notice that we have a multi-port connector here. This connector will plug into this connector. It's the only connector that looks like this that is available in the wiring harness, so we can't make a mistake. So basically it's this connector going into that connector. We're looking again for male, female with blue and white wiring. That would be this one here. So this will plug into that connector. Male again to female. Again, brown and green. So we have a look at the wiring harness and we have brown and green right here. Male to female connector. So there's no questions in terms of what wire goes where. We just have to pop them into the connector and that's it. Again, here we have a blue connector which will fit into the blue wire that we see here. And it really is that simple, folks. It's not a complex thing. We're just plugging connectors together to put the wiring harnesses in place. Then we're going to bolt up the headlight into its position and as well the signal light. So this is the front signal light configuration that we're going to bolt in place as well after we've done the front headlight. Again, we'll be back in a few minutes to show you what that looks like. So here we are having another quick look at the lighting wiring harness for the headlights and the speedometer. And like I said, you can see male to female connector, and all we've did is we made all of the connections for the headlight. Now we're going to go ahead and make the electrical connections for the front signal and then bolt the headlight into position. So basically there are 4 machine screws on either side. We're going to mount the headlight and then bolt it in place. That's all there is to it. Right back. So welcome back. We're now working on the signal lights, and when you have a look at the signal light wiring, there's one little point that we need to raise here. You'll notice that we have orange going to orange, green going to green. Then we have another connector down here for the signal lights where we have green going to green, and then things get a little bit different. We have blue going to purple. So blue plugs into this purple line here. That is the only part of this wiring system that has a different color for the same wire connection. Just to give you a heads up on that. So again, for the signal light, the blue wire goes to the purple. Thank you. Right back. All right, so we're back having a look at how to install the front fender. The easiest way to install the front fender is to actually have the front tire off, thread the front fender through between the 2 forks, and then you're going to align the 2 machine screws that you see here on either side into the mount that you see here. So those screws slide through and bolt up into this mount, and that's what holds your front fender on. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the wheel. And once the wheel is installed, we're also going to spend a minute and install the front caliper. So this is the front brake caliper, and when we install this, we're going to be installing the front caliper so that the disc sits right here between the pads, and then we're going to be tightening up these two machine screws onto the frame of the bike to hold the caliper in position. We'll be right back with that in a minute. So right now we've went ahead and installed the tire, and when you look at the front tire, what we've done here with the bike is to jack it up just a wee bit to make it easier to work on. You'll notice that on the front axle assembly there's a spacer on the left and a spacer on the right. So it's really important that you insert the axle pin through, install the spacers, and the tire should spin in the exact center of the forks when properly installed. Now, we haven't finished tightening up everything on this bike, but this is just to give you an idea in terms of how to install the tire and mount it. The next thing we're going to be having a look at is the mounting of the signal lights. Now, there's an interesting bracket here. So this triangular shaped bracket sits in and then mounts up and bolts into this area here. So it goes in this way. You got to wiggle it a little bit, it sits up, and then there's two machine screws, one on either side, to hold it in place. And when you're putting this signal light in, the first thing you want to do, of course, is to install the wiring. So run the wiring up and underneath, plug it, male to female, into the connectors that you see inside the wiring harness, then go ahead and insert the machine screws and bolt it in place and tighten everything up. Back in a flash. So welcome back. Right now we've just installed the brake caliper on the front of our 50cc classic FatBoy. And to install the brake caliper, there's basically two mounting machine screws that screw into the housing for the caliper itself. Now, the trick with installing the caliper is to ensure that you gently pry open the brake shoes. So you'll see the shoes inside the caliper itself. You just want to open them up. You can do that with a flat butter knife, if you will, just to create a bit of space. This will then allow you to slide the caliper onto the disc. And once you've got the caliper slid onto the disc, then simply fasten the machine screws in place. So put this one in, then this one, tighten them up, and you'll be just fine. So once you've got this locked up and in position, then your hydraulic brake system for the front wheel is 100%. Moving towards the rear of the bike, something that I wanted to point out to you as well is that when you have a look and lift the seat, of course your battery's located here. The battery terminals are right underneath these two covers. Make sure they're nice and tight. You also have to make this master electrical connection yourself. So you need to plug in this connector, which then allows the bike to be energized so that when you turn on the key, the bike should light up. You should see some lights here. In the speedometer, you'll also see the headlight light up as well. Other things of note back in this area of the bike is this guy. So this guy right here is your CDI. And on these bikes, we have a super upgraded CDI, and these things just sound amazing. So later on, we're going to start the bike up for you, and you're going to be amazed. The sound is truly fantastic. The engine has been tuned, the muffler's been tuned. These bikes ride extremely well and just have a great, great sound. So these are some of the things that you need to be aware of under the seat. If we sneak a peek down to the left side of the bike, there's a few things that we need to point out here as well. First is the gas supply. Now notice with this gas petcock, the handle must be in the up position with the arrow pointing upwards to allow gas to flow through the fuel line, down to the fuel filter, and into the carburetor. This is your carburetor area right here. So again, from the petcock, the handle is in the up position. Fuel flows through the fuel line into the fuel filter, from the fuel filter into the carburetor, and now you have gas available for combustion. When you first start the bike, you want to have full choke available, so move the choke lever all the way up. This will help the bike get a little bit more enriched fuel mixture when it first starts. Once it starts up, you can move the choke lever down and you won't have any problems. You'll notice with this bike as time goes by, once you get a good fuel supply running through the bike and it's had a chance to warm through, you can move the choke all the way down, and this is the position you can probably pretty much leave this bike in. It doesn't need a lot of choking to get it started. Other things of note on this side of the bike, your charging port. Now this charging port is to be used by this charger that came with your bike. Now this is a 12-volt charger, and we use this adapter and basically plug it in right here to charge the battery. Once the battery is fully charged, the bike will have no problem starting. The bike is indeed equipped with an alternator so that it can self-charge as well. But if the bike sits for any period of time, you may notice that the battery is not as strong as it used to be. Simply plug the charger in, this end to the wall socket, this end into the charge port, and that will allow 12 volts of electrical energy to flow into the battery and recharge it for you. Moving around to the right side of the bike, here we can see the rear pedal brake. So basically your right foot goes here, you step down on the brake pedal, acts on the master cylinder, that then acts on the rear caliper, and again through hydraulics stops the bike. So you have hydraulic brakes not only on the front of the bike but also in the rear. On this side of the bike we can also see this little port, and this port gives you a visual indication of what your oil level is. Now right now the bike is leaning on a slight angle, so this cup area in here will not be completely filled. When you have the bike running and the bike is sitting upright, this sight glass will be almost 100% full, very close to it. So if you were to look, there might just be a little hair's gap at the very top of the glass itself where you would not see lube oil. Normally this bike will take about 800 milliliters of lube oil, and you want to keep an eye on it and change it as frequently as you feel is necessary. Now, I personally recommend that you drive this bike for about 3 hours and change the oil out right away. Always use a good synthetic 10W40 or 15W40 motor oil for motorcycles. It's a special type of oil that is designed specifically for motorcycles and helps prolong the life expectancy of the engine and the gearing system for the bike. So I would spend the extra money and get and insert synthetic oil into this bike to help the engine last as long as possible. Other points of note, on this side of the bike, you'll note the spark plug is right here, your coil just above it, and moving down to this area we have the starter and the exhaust port. Other things that you want to be aware of, right here we have your horn assembly, and you'll notice that up top we have these guys, and this screw mechanism actually is a stop device. So it prevents the front forks from over-rotating. You see right here we have a stop. On the triple tree it'll come down and stop the front forks from over-rotating themselves. Right now we're going to take a moment and start the bike up for you so you can hear what it sounds like. Turn the key on. This bike has already been warmed up, so it does not need to have choke. The kill switch, which is up top, must be depressed. If you have the X zone and the switch in that zone, the bike will not start. This is the kill for the bike. This position is normal operating position. So right here, we must have this switch down. Ignition key is on. You'll notice that the speedometer is lit up, the front headlight is lit up, and all we have to do is hit the start and the bike should start for us. Let's see what happens. And we give it just a little bit of throttle. Now I want you to just listen to that sound. That is an amazing, amazing sound for a 50cc engine. So this is a 50cc classic FatBoy here at Venom Motorsports Canada. Just an amazing bike. I hope that you have found this video very handy. Enjoy the ride, my friends, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.